What's the deal with Penn State, man? They can't get over. They cannot get over. It's Tommy Dreamer never beating Raven. I mean,
On today's Throwdown Thursday edition of the Odd Coaches podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis recap Week 7 games, discuss potential Heisman Trophy candidates, review Dr. Adams' strictly for entertainment purposes only picks, as well as previewing Week 8 of the college football season. Welcome to today's show.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today is my tag team partner. Speaking of Japanese wrestling, the Hercules Hernandez to my Scott Norton in Japan in the 80s and 90s. The icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And Coach, how are you on this taping day, sir?
Doing well this morning.
You're doing better than me, sir. So on this Throwdown Thursday edition of the Odd Coaches podcast, we're going to review, recap Week 7. A lot of games. As we told you last week, folks, we're starting to overly care, and that's a good time of year. We are going to talk about some potential Heisman people you should follow, as well as Coach Prime and some prime opportunities that might be with him. And unfortunately, some strictly for entertainment purposes only conversations, and quite frankly, I wasn't entertained this week, but that's segment 3. But Mike, let's go around the horn, man. We're going to go around the territories, and we're going to start with the ACC. Clemson is in the mix for the CFP. Syracuse is still undefeated, and UNC is 6-1. Any thoughts on the ACC?
Those 3 schools at the top, the ones you spoke of, look pretty good. It's beating who they're supposed to beat, and glad to see Syracuse football is back. And it was a good win yesterday against another ranked opponent.
And so was ESPN, seeing how most people went to Syracuse.
Yeah, right, exactly. They love it. The media is going crazy right now.
Yeah, the thing is with Clemson, Dabo spoke very highly of his quarterback, and his quarterback has been much maligned. DJ, I can't pronounce his last name right now. Mm-hmm. So we'll keep an eye on him, and we'll talk about him later, possibly in segment 2. But in the American, this is quick, fast, and in a hurry. Tulane and UCF are both 6-1, and they should probably be ranked. So as you look at the rankings when this comes out, see if they snuck in Tulane or UCF at the bottom. I know you're not a big follower of the American, Mike, but keep an eye on Tulane and UCF for me, strictly for bowl purposes, but they should be 23, 24, 25 by the airing of this show is my prediction. We're going to move on. All right, Mike, Big 12. TCU is 6-0 and the only team that matters in the Big 12, and I can't see them staying undefeated. And also, do they recruit defensive players in the Big 12? Because these scores are ridiculous. Help me out, Mike. What is going on? And I am always going to take the over in the Big 12.
Yeah, I was wondering if any defense travels in the Big 12, bro. It's crazy with these numbers. Like, it is like unbelievable the amount of points that they put up. But it's entertaining football. You got to give them something to watch. They ain't going to come out there. There's nothing to do anyway in most of the conference. So entertaining, it works for them.
On a side note, in preparation for the show, Point Five was hanging around and said, "Dad, is TCU Texas Christian University?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Hey, I got one." So anytime we can talk about colleges and whatever, I'll take advantage of it. All right, Big Ten. Ohio State and Michigan are undefeated. They are starting, as we predicted, to separate themselves from everyone else. Um,
So they say.
this is a race to the end of the season in their annual battle. But I want to talk about Penn State. A couple of years ago, James Franklin said this. So this is where it came from. He said, Penn State is a good school that is trying to be a great school, and we won't be a great school until we win these games. That's him. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it. What's the deal with Penn State, man? They can't get over. They cannot get over. It's Tommy Dreamer never beating Raven. I mean, can you tell me what the deal is, man? Because I don't understand it.
I don't know. They get to that point, and for some reason, it's like they reach a threshold every year. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
I see it every year.
It's every year they reach the threshold, and I don't know if they have the dynamics. They don't have that next level. Like if Saquon Barkley ain't coming every year to Penn State. You know what I mean? That's
But
what
why?
somebody
They've got the
becomes.
money, they got the
Mhm.
cachet, they got the history. They they again, they have the money.
Yeah,
They
but a
got a
lot of us,
stadium with 100,000 people every time they walk out.
we talk about these new kids that don't always make,
Yeah.
you know how it is in when it comes to this new recruiting and these new kids now, they want different things. And,
Yeah. All right. Finally, with the Big Ten, I gotta say, Illinois 6-1. So, gotta keep an eye on Illinois. They might mess up somebody's party. All right, HBCU. Jackson State's undefeated, but they play Campbell next week. Now again, Campbell is no power or anything like that, but they're not MEAC or SWAC. I don't know what conference they play in, but I'm curious to see if they're gonna run Campbell like they ran anybody else. They probably should run Campbell, but I'm curious about that piece. And it's conference time in the MEAC in North Carolina Central seems to be the team to beat. And I loved your, I think you either retweeted it or shared it with me about Dion's like opening meeting last week. And he came in with the theme music and the t-shirt that says I'm swag and something like that. So
yeah, they had a song and everything for it.
yeah. So we'll be watching to see who will be the representatives of the Heritage Bowl. Group of 5, sir. JMU blew it, man. JMU blew it. I did put some liquid finances on JMU, and I did so with the purpose of knowing that James Madison has done a fantastic job the last few years of that transition. And when you transition fans, you're not bowl eligible. Because most teams are not ready for a bowl anyway, but JMU, they're ready for prime time. They got ranked in the top 25. Mike said last week, might be a little early for that. My partner said, might be a little early. I said, hey, let's roll with them.
And
And
what happened?
because they don't have the opportunity for a bowl, I'm thinking, because if I'm coaching, every game is it, because the only thing we can hang on our hats this season is whatever our final ranking is. So they go out, they play Georgia Southern or whoever, and they Tommy Rich it and they blow it. And what a Tommy Rich is for wrestling fans is Tommy Rich was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion for like 4 days. He won the belt, he lost the belt. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that loss because that was a game that they were in control and they gave up a lot of points at the end. So
A lot.
so that fourth quarter, man, don't be holding up them fours and don't be playing no defense. But I will say that University of Texas San Antonio will be a bold team to watch. So out of group of 5, though, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Mike, any thoughts on JMU and them pooping, as Will would say, the
I
bed?
told you last week it was too early. Like it's way too early. Like most teams pad their schedule. When they really hit that competition right now, that third week in October is when everything starts to turn when it comes to college football. You know that.
Yes, yes. Speaking of turning, Independence Notre Dame, another team strictly for entertainment purposes only, lost to Stanford, and they're now 3-3 on the season. Mike, I don't know if Notre Dame can be 3-3 and Marcus Freeman not have a tight off season.
He better be looking over his shoulder.
I was surprised that they lost to Stanford again. Not saying Stanford's bad, but Notre Dame should beat Stanford. And they only scored 14 points. They lost 16-14. How are you only scoring 14 points against the vaunted Pac-12 defense of Stanford? Yeah.
No dynamics, no superior athletes. We look at coaching, we look at all that, but great athletes make a coach look even greater.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's going to take a while. If he survives this season, it's going to take him a while.
He's got to survive this season. There's no way they're going to give him 1 year and out. Well, I can't say.
I was going to say, what?
I can't say.
You forgot?
I am not that far gone. No, I am not that far gone.
You sure?
Liberty is 6-1 and will scare somebody in a bowl game. All right. So there you go, because Liberty is trying to get attention. Pac-12, USC blew a golden opportunity, and once again, going back to the fourth quarter, they gave up 15 points in the fourth. We'll talk about USC more detail in segment 3 for entertainment purposes only. But, Mike, the last undefeated team in the Pac-12 is UCLA, and banking on UCLA to go undefeated, good luck with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
As long as they're undefeated, we'll hang around. But as soon as they get that one loss, they're out of the CFP conversation because there's no way that's going to happen. Any thoughts about USC blowing it to Utah? And now Utah wants to play, but that again is another story for segment 3.
Nah, I don't know if they want Utah like that.
Well, fans, we saved the best for last. The SEC, it's just different in that conference. So
it's not even college football.
It's not over for Alabama, for those who think because Alabama lost, it's over. See, Alabama has a path to the SEC championship game, while Tennessee still has to play Georgia and then win the SEC championship game. So tough loss for Alabama. They have not played well. You will see in my rankings in segment 3 how I felt about that loss and what it impacts. But Mike, because it's the SEC, we're going to take each bullet point with a reaction from you individually. What are your thoughts on Alabama, Tennessee, and that phenomenal game? It was a ball game, man.
Mm-hmm. Tennessee's strength is their quarterback and receivers. Alabama's deficit and their weakness is the secondary. And Tennessee was able to expose that last night with some consistent running here and there. The tempo, they controlled the whole game, and they ran the ball well enough to hold linebackers and give themselves time for receivers to get free. And they tore number 14 up. That dude was that baked chicken.
Man, now I gotta get Coach Francis to tell me about this. So it's the end of the game. Tennessee needed like 12, 15 yards to be in field goal range.
Prevent defense.
And so that's what Alabama did because it looked like the quarterback had time.
Yeah, they went for
that
across
last
only
play.
rushed 3.
Walk me through that last play when the guy got, down to the damn near 20, and then they kicked the 40-yarder. Can you walk me through that play and walk our audience through that? Because I'm watching the game, and I'm like, all right, Alabama's going to get some heat on them. They're going to go to overtime, whatever. But, man, that didn't happen, and that dude was open.
Well, Alabama was getting roasted in the secondary, so you try to give guys help, so you only rush 3 and drop off in the zone. Maybe they dropped off a little too much. Well, they had to respect the speed of Tennessee. I think Tennessee's receivers are number 11, especially. I'm not sure of his name. I apologize, young man. But he had 5 touchdowns yesterday, so somebody better start learning his name. All right. So he killed one-on-one, and then you're just playing zone, trying to keep it in front of you so you can tackle, not give up the 7. They're not trying to give up the 6, excuse me, not trying to let a touchdown happen. And maybe it was a little too loose in the secondary. But that's what happens. If you're Alabama, you're thinking, keep them in front of us and make the tackle, maybe force a turnover. And if you're Tennessee, you're thinking, you got the timeouts. So 10,
and the clock stops with
right on the first down. So you can chop the ball if necessary, run and chop the ball. And they were able to get it done.
Wow. All right. So the second thing with the SEC, I feel bad for Ole Miss. And you've hit me to Ole Miss the last couple of years because I can't see them remaining undefeated. And Lane Kiffin's doing a great job. They have to beat Alabama and Mississippi State, along with other good teams, to stay undefeated. That Egg Bowl rivalry is real, folks. And I'll be in Vegas at that time. Talk to me about your thoughts on Ole Miss. Can they still hang around, or man, that's just not going to work for them? What do you think, Mike?
I think they can still hang around. I think that Lane is offensively as good as anyone there is, and as long as he has pieces, he can make it happen. And from what Alabama showed yesterday in their secondary, they're going to have to shore some things up. And that's not just with Tennessee or any good quarterback. Mind you, I'm not taking nothing away from Tennessee's quarterback, Herndon. He was really, really good.
Yes.
Really, really, really good. He made some throws yesterday that was exceptional. Made some reads that was exceptional. Never got flustered. And Ole Miss, as long as their quarterback can play, pretty decent, that they got a chance. They have a chance. Their defense isn't as strong, but I think they can score with anybody.
I agree with you. Finally, in the SEC and for segment 1, I feel bad for Brian Harsin, who's the coach at Auburn. Auburn is a tough place to coach, and this is free advice from Dr. Adams. Do your gig, take your time, do the best you can, and if they come to you and want you to leave, take the money they offer, take a year off, and then go do your thing somewhere else, because you're not a bad coach. You're in a situation where these people have unrealistic expectations of who they are. And, man, good luck with that. Any thoughts on Auburn, man? Because all I do is hear about how they don't like this guy, and then he goes out and loses again. And, Auburn's a tough place to coach. They will fire you at Auburn.
Yeah, they will, but I don't understand why they're bad. I mean, first of all, I'm not feeling sorry for the man making $5 million a year. The contract is 6 years, $31.5 million,
Wow.
and it goes up $100,000 for his bonus each year. His buyout, was 70% of the remaining value of the contract. So whatever that may be. 70%.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
70% of $31.5 million is not bad. Not bad at all. But he's just again, I agree with you as far as their unrealistic expectations. Like the conference they're in, if you're not competing, it's different. It's hard when you're the little sister. And let's just be honest, Alabama's the big brother in the conference, in the state. Alabama's the big brother. So it's hard. You really, really got to get a different approach. You can't try to do things like Alabama does. And when it comes to recruiting, you have to really step your game up. That's what it comes to. You got to spend more money than them. And I don't mean on players. I mean
on
the travel,
yes.
Locker rooms, things like that.
All right, fans. Well, we have gone around the country as we do every week. And in segment 2, we're going to talk about Coach Prime. We're going to talk about some Heisman candidates and several other things on the Out of Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2 on this Throwdown Thursday edition. Mike, we are at that point of the season, halfway point, starting to see where some schools may be looking in a different direction. And I want to talk a little bit about Coach Deion Sanders in terms of you being a Power 5 administrator. Coach Prime has a 20-5 overall record in his third season at Jackson State. Deion's 55. He has a job and a mission there, it seems like, at Jackson State with what he's doing with HBCUs, the SWAC. He also has less experience than others, but he's been in those interview rooms. If you're a Power 5 AD and you're going to have an opening, possibly at an Auburn, possibly at some of these other bigger schools, one, would you call? Two, if you're Deion, would you go? Because it's easy to be at Jackson State right now, garner that attention, and you're the belle of the ball. You're kind of like Jerry Lawler in Memphis, to use a wrestling reference. You control the Memphis territory. You get the belt when you want. You get to do whatever. But once you leave, man, it's just other dynamics. Give me your thoughts and give our audience your thoughts on that.
First of all, a man who donates half his salary is an okay man with me. There's not one college coach in football that's going to donate half their salary to make sure the players get what they need. So he's always going to get kids. I don't know how effective he'd be at a Power 5 for the simple fact that you're dealing with a different group of kids. If you ask me, you got a kid who's more entitled now. Kids you're recruiting are a little different. And he doesn't have his son. His son wouldn't be the buffer. I like to think that the whole family aspect is what really sells most of these kids about coming to JMU. Dealing with Shedeur and those guys that the players love so much as they love him. And it's got to be a right situation. It's got to be somebody who's going to understand that, yeah, he's going to bring players in, but when players come, a lot of negativity. Sometimes schools just don't want to deal with the negativity that's going to come to it. It doesn't want to be the first one because some school president is going to be upset that all the other presidents are calling them names because he hired Deion, saying, "Oh, why you get him?" That's the thing about it. You talk about being the belle of the ball, but it's going to take the testicular fortitude of some athletic director and president to reach out to Deion and make it happen and not feel, less than whatever the other people are going to make them, make them feel. Jalen Rose said this week how Steve Fisher caught so much flack from other coaches like Gene Cady and all them, almost like letting the animals run the zoo when the Fab Five came in, wearing long shorts, things like that, black socks. Why are you letting them do that? That whole control and still that, I ain't gonna say slave mentality, but pretty much that whole, worker bee situation. And somebody's going to have to be able to stand up to that and the onslaught that comes with hiring Deion Sanders. It's going to be a lot.
Yes, because you are not going to quiet him. That's not going to happen. Okay, that is not going to happen.
And you got to have tough skin because he's going to tell you about yourself.
Yes,
right, wrong, and different.
All right. So is this Vegas being Vegas? There's a new favorite atop the Vegas standings to win the national championships at the sports book, and it's not a member of the SEC. Ohio State moved up past Alabama and past Georgia as the favorites to win the national championship. The Buckeyes are plus 200. And as of yesterday, prior to the loss, both Alabama and Georgia were at plus 220. So this marks the first time since November of 2020 that somebody other than Alabama or Georgia was the consensus favorite. Does Vegas know something that we don't, sir?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Right,
I think it might
you
be
ain't
just.
bought it.
I just think it's to move the line to create, some reaction. A lot of what sports has become, not a lot of what it's become, but what it's always been just not marketed is, alumni betting.
Mm-hmm.
The money that comes in from these major, these alums who feel connected to their school by betting. So if you can move the line to generate some action, I mean, that's what they're in the business for. So moving the line, putting Ohio State in, and like I told you before, they're media darlings. Ohio State's and the Michigans are media darlings. Like every year, one of them's going to be ranked in the top 10 to make, media happy. And then we spoke about Syracuse as well.
Yes. A little station in Connecticut is enjoying themselves.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Got to give a little love to the FCS. South Dakota State beat North Dakota State 23-21. Tremendous rivalry. North Dakota State's number one in FCS. They have the gimmick called the Dakota Marker rivalry. They're playing some good football up there, and I just wanted to make sure we mentioned it. North Dakota State's most famous alum, Carson Wentz, is not having a good go of it right now. But hey, good game, and again, we'll be watching as playoffs hit. All right, finally in this segment, these are just some names to watch. It's that time of year. We're at the halfway point, kind of. A little bit beyond it. So I'm going to throw out some names. And Mike, if you're interested in them, let me know what you think. And this is in no particular order, but these are Heisman names to just start watching as we go in. Okay. North Carolina quarterback Drake May. North Carolina's 6-1. They're winning games. They're going to be on TV. They got a couple of profile games coming up. And again, you just jump in if you want to. Ohio State's quarterback, C.J. Stroud. Ohio State was on a bye this week. They're going to have some TV opportunities.
They still probably got more commercials than anyone.
Michigan running back Blake Corum ran all over Penn State. He did. Okay. But they have not been kind to running backs lately. Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker made himself some money yesterday.
He the man.
He made some money yesterday.
He is the man.
Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, I believe he is the defending champion, and Archie Griffin. You do not have to worry about somebody repeating and being a two-time Heisman winner in my eyes, because he's missed games because of injury and the loss. I don't think he's going to return as the champion, the Heisman winner. Again, people may disagree with me, but this is the business. Nah, there's other guys have better seasons. Alabama's running back Jamar Gibbs. He's in the mix. USC quarterback Caleb Williams. I think the loss hurts him in the Heisman race. That's just kind of how history has said it. Kansas State's quarterback Adrian Martinez. I think he started off at Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken. So shucks for you. Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett may have an argument because Georgia's still winning. They're still ripping off just W after W. Clemson's quarterback DJ, how do you pronounce his last name, Mike? Or you don't know? DJ underperformed. Okay, sorry. Because again,
good
Clemson.
Question.
But he's in the mix. And the dark horse candidate that I don't think people are going to give love to, but maybe they should, Jackson State quarterback Shedeur Sanders. He's putting up video game numbers, but he's doing it.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that. Don't do that to him. Don't do that.
He's
don't
playing
do
well.
That. Don't do that, man.
All right. So what do you think about? Is there anybody that you think, hey, these are the two or three guys that I'm like, I'm gonna really take a look at for the Heisman right now?
The quarterback from Tennessee, I would definitely say is got to be. He's number one on my list right now. Michigan's running back number 2.
And he ran over somebody who's supposed to have a good defense.
Yeah, he ran over a ranked team. Like, he went through them, and so did this quarterback. This quarterback threw them. Like, and if number 11 has another game like he did, like, you'd have to put him in the picture at some point too. Yeah. I mean, you can't have 5 touchdowns in one day and not, get any notoriety. Yeah, I mean, come on now.
Yes, indeed. All right, fam. So in segment 3, I got to face the music. Was it my best week? And my partner's going to remind me of that when I talk to you guys in segment 3 of the Odd Coaches podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA SAVE Project Academic Monitoring Service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress, as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
We're back on the Odd Coaches podcast. And in segment 3, we will do things strictly for entertainment purposes only because my partner is not being nice to local schools. So, OCP Top 5. Fans of the show, and thank you to all of our new listeners because, man, we've got some. My partner only wants to focus in this on top 5. Who's going to make the playoffs? So, yes, we talked about a lot of folks in segment 1 and we get around the country. But now when we talk top 5, it's like, who's going to play for a championship? So I've got Georgia as number 1. I got Ohio State as number 2. I got Clemson as number 3. I got Michigan at number 4. And I have Tennessee at number 5. On the outside looking in, I have UCLA because they're still an undefeated Pac-12 school. And Pac-12 has a lot of political power in Washington, and you got to keep them in until you can legitimately say they've lost, and now we can't talk about it. TCU is undefeated. Their conference has political power. I'm not talking about in college football. I'm talking about in Washington with legislation. So we're going to keep them in until they lose, and then you got nothing. And Ole Miss is still in the mix. Alabama is out right now because they've got to go through their long, winding process, and they've got to continue to win games and get to the championship. So I don't have to talk about Alabama right now. I'm going to stay with the undefeated SEC teams because there's going to be no argument there. Mike, any thoughts? And now can the SEC still get 2 people in to the CFP? What do you think, man?
That's going to be tough. One of them going to go. I don't think both of them are going to be able to make it. I don't think both of them be able to make it at all.
And we don't have a Project Cincinnati this year, so
thank God.
The new Project Cincinnati will be Big 12 and Pac-12, but they're going to lose. So a one-loss USC versus a one-loss Alabama, they ain't got no. There's no conversation. Now you don't have the we're undefeated thing. So anyway, this will be interesting. All right, picks of the week. Last week I was 3-2. This week, Mike, I was 0-5, dropped 50. Boom, done. So let me tell you what I picked, and you can tell me where I went wrong. But I thought those picks were good, man. But that's why it's called gambling. So for the spread, I picked UNC -7. So they did win against Duke, but they only won by 3. So I am 500 on the season. against the spread. Okay. My fault. I put for my over-under game, I pick Alabama, Ole Miss under 55.5. Auburn hasn't been scoring. Mississippi has. So, yeah, I can see Mississippi having 30 and a late touchdown makes it 30-21, something like that, but man, they just went nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 500 on the over under for the season. My 2 play of the week I thought was the safest bets. I thought I was safe. I picked Notre Dame and Clemson as my 2 play. Just go out and win, get my money, keep it moving. Notre Dame lost Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. You can't do that. Okay. So I'm 2-4 on the 2 play of the week. Okay, as we're in week 6. My 3 play of the week was Maryland because they played Indiana. Okay. You got to beat Indiana. They beat Indiana, but we got an injury with Tua's little brother. I hope everything goes well with him. Kid's a nice kid and
left in the boot.
Left in the boot. Okay.
Not good.
Because I know you actually, I think, watched part of that game.
Yeah, I did.
I picked James Madison, and we talked off air. So let me tell you on air. Again, James Madison can't go to a bowl. So every game was supposed to be their bowl. And now they were in the top 25. And at the pace they were going, they had a chance to end the season in the top 20. I could take that on the road, Mike. If you're coaching, you can take that on the road and you can go recruit. You can go get whatever. So when I saw who they were playing, I'm like, all right, here we go. This is 12-point spread, 11-point spread, double-digit spread. Just go win the money line, and nothing. And I got Michigan over Penn State because I just don't trust Penn State, man. And I'm using their coach's words against them. They're a good team. They're not a great team. And I like James Franklin. And I'm glad he signed his deal. So if they do mess with him, he gets his paper. And my money line upset play of the week, I thought I was stealing money. USC against Utah. Well, USC had it in the bag. We had them in the clutches. And I don't stay up for these games.
They snatched defeat out the jaws of victory.
So look for my picks next week, early Saturday morning. And I hope to have a better week because right now I am rolling at 40%. And I am, let's just say, down 8 games because I bet the same amount each game. Finally, our season-long win totals. Alabama did it for me, so they're not winning 12. Shucks. So as Mike likes to tell me privately, you can rip that ticket up. Georgia over 11, they're still with it. Houston over 9, rip that ticket up. Kansas already won. So we're good. NC State, that was a tough loss, man. I was kind of hoping that NC State, because in the preseason, Mike, they were telling me NC State could possibly win the ACC. But that's not going to happen. So Nebraska continue to get me the victory. Notre Dame has to win out for them to get 9 wins.
Shit.
I don't think that's going to happen. All right, Mike, I got to pause. Penn State, I got them over 8.5, and they got 5 wins. Can we get 4 wins out of Penn State?
Yeah, if you look at their schedule, I think we still – well, I don't know. I know they got Maryland in November. That's going to be a tough one. And after yesterday's loss, you know how sometimes it starts –
I think they got Ohio State too.
Yeah, so it starts to go downhill a little bit. It could be tough. I think Texas, they got Rutgers left, though. So
I need 4 wins. Texas, I have them under 8.5, and Iowa State got close, but shucks, Texas at 5 wins. Texas A&M's at 3 wins. They have a bye. We'll see what happens. South Carolina, I have over 6.5. They've got 4 wins, and every week you tell me I don't know where them 3 wins is coming from.
Penn State could win 4 out of the last 5.
You think so?
Yeah, they got Minnesota, Indiana, Rutgers, Michigan State. And then I, I,
Yeah. Utah, I have them over 9. They've got to run the table. I don't know if that's going to happen. Clemson's at 7 wins, and they need to get over 10.5. That's possible. And Ohio State, I think, going to chug along and get that 12th win. Week 8 games to watch. UCLA against Oregon, sir. Does UCLA pull it out?
why?
Because they're undefeated, and they're
That's
going against Oregon with 1 loss.
that's why you watching it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they're undefeated. If they beat Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to put them in the top 5.
Mm.
Syracuse and Clemson. Syracuse is undefeated.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Clemson's undefeated.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be a good game. Where's it at?
I believe it's at Death Valley.
Oh yeah, it's Clemson all the way.
All right, Texas versus Oklahoma State. That is for my strictly entertainment purposes only. Oklahoma State's coming off a loss, and I need Texas to have another loss. So that's why we're watching. I say it's games to watch. Ole Miss LSU. Now, LSU is not as good as it has been in the past, but does Ole Miss start to see how close they can be to the light? And do they have a hiccup? Lane's teams are known for having strange hiccups.
It's my guy, man.
I'll
It's almost like Penn State the same way, though. At some point, it comes to a point in the season where it can make or break you. You always had that game, and for some reason, Penn State and Ole Miss seem to fall that one week that if they win, it could change the whole trajectory of their season. It's
all right. I got Campbell versus Jackson State. Now, I do anticipate Jackson State winning. I do, honestly. But they're playing a non HBCU school, and I want to see them play against, Campbell. BYU's go ahead.
You want to see them play Campbell?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Again,
to measure where they are as far as other schools and stuff like that. Is that what you think?
Because they should beat them, but Dion has mentioned, playing other schools and trying to, get the bowls.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a middling group of 5 school. That's what Campbell is. Yeah, they're not the elite of the group of 5. So I'm hoping they run them. And then he can say, okay, it's hard to get scheduling. Then you can do the scheduling argument because nobody wants to play me. And that's another gimmick. But again, that's why I'm curious to watch that. We have an independent matchup coming up. BYU is playing Liberty. And Liberty is in that same boat. They're an independent. They're not in a conference. And they're trying to get eyeballs on their product. And to beat BYU, who's about to go to the Big 12, Liberty, and I believe Hugh Freeze is still there. So he's a Power 5 coach trying to do something. So we'll see what happens. Mississippi State's playing Alabama. Now, Mississippi State's good. Alabama's coming off a loss.
Yeah, Mississippi State ass in trouble.
Can Alabama lose 2 in a row?
No.
And they're playing in
Not
Alabama.
to Mississippi State. Herndon ain't in Mississippi State, bro. They ain't the same quarterback. No, sir. You can't do that.
And then finally, Kansas State. Shout out to Dr. Lisa Rubin. I do owe you a call or at least a message. They're playing TCU. K-State's in the top 25, and TCU's going to make a jump in the rankings to the top 10. Can TCU stay undefeated? What do you think, man? It's Big 12 football.
Yeah,
I'm sure the score will be 50-49.
Shit, I was going to say probably about 65-62 final score. Bet the over of 100.
I'm trying to bet the over on that. I got to have a better week, man. I can't be worse than
120.
And watch they have a defensive struggle. You're like, what are you doing? That's why it's gambling, man.
I'm betting the over on that one, that's for sure.
Any final thoughts, my partner, before we roll out?
Nah, I'm glad Deion didn't have to fight no coaches this week, so that was that was good to see. It was also Doug Williams said some things about him that was pretty good. I like.
No, I didn't hear what Doug said.
Yeah. Doug had spoke with Stephen A. I guess it was almost like the HBCU version of College Game Day. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But there was an interview that happened, and he talked about Deion and the notoriety he's bringing to the league and how happy that he is to see him doing that.
All right. And despite my disappointment with the lack of assistance that HBCUs gave me as I attempted my dissertation, I have always wanted to help because, there's resources and things and there's just opportunities that have been missed on. So I'm glad Doug had some kind words to say. So on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching. Views are up. The Odd Coaches Podcast, and we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches Podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.